Hello, 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 fam. What's going on, kinfolk? Welcome to the Dr. Eric K. Coleman Show. I am your host, Dr. Coleman. Thank you for joining me on Facebook Live and via YouTube. So, everyone who is joining us via Facebook Live, please head over to the YouTube channel and click that subscribe button, click that like button, and the notifications tab so that you can remain up to date and abreast to all of the content and fun stuff that's coming your way on the show. Also, please, you can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Eric K. Coleman. You can also email the show at Dr. Eric K. Coleman, all one word, at gmail.com for speaking engagements, one on one sessions, and to see if we can get some of your questions here put on the show that we can discuss with the family. So what we're gonna do today for this episode, episode 3, awesome. We are going to be talking about heated arguments, willing to lose in order to win. And what do I mean by that? Heated arguments. I'm pretty sure we all have been in heated arguments before in relationships, whether it be what family members, spouses, whether it be uh, with our children, co-workers, anybody. There's just something about how a conversation can escalate from 0 to 100 in a matter of seconds, just because of what somebody said, how they said it, the tone, the timing, all that stuff. Uh, we tend to get out of character. And for the most part, a lot of times it's quite interesting that we tend to just want to win the argument just for saying, for lack of better terminology, just for the sake of saying that we won. But what we're going to talk about today is, what did we actually win when we say we won a fight? Was it that you spoke louder than the other person? Did you belittle the other person? What was your whole context, and what was your whole point in engaging in this conversation with this person that you're dealing with at the present moment? So if you haven't already, please go ahead. Available on Amazon. You can cop the book, Paradigm: Thinking Differently About Relationships. Uh, I want to read a little excerpt from chapter 6 at the back of the book. And this quote here I wrote, it says, "The effect of unproductive communication is a lack of buy in the relationship, which stifles growth, trust, openness, and vulnerability." So when we approach conversations with a sense of entitlement, when we approach conversations with a sense of you just want to get out of the conversation what you want to get out of it, and we're not taking in consideration the feelings, the thoughts, the emotions, the perspective of the other person, we're doing ourselves a total disservice because we are not taking in consideration the whole picture here before we make our final assessments and figure out how it is that we want to proceed in these relationships or in these conversations. So, what we want to do today is take a look at a clip from the Dr. Phil show. We're gonna unpack this a little bit, and we're just gonna talk about, have a conversation surrounding healthy conversation, healthy dialogue. What are some of the do's and the don'ts in when we have disagreements? Now, again, there's nothing wrong with having a disagreement. We're two different human beings. Yes, we are in a relationship, but we're trying to come together to get on the same page here. But that does not take away our individuality. It does not take away our perceptions. It does not take away any of those things that makes us who we are. And so, what we're going to do today is just take a few moments and just look at this clip, and then we're going to have a dialogue. We're going to have a conversation as we proceed.
I think couples have the wrong goal when they disagree. And I, I don't often use Robin and myself as an example, but today's our 42nd anniversary, so I guess I'll break a rule.
Don't let me be the hero here.
Use our example. We have a rule when we disagree. We do what she wants.
Now let me stop the clip there. He is being funny, Dr. Phil. He is being funny right now about saying whatever uh, whatever she wants to do is how they stop the fight. And I'm pretty sure, we've all heard this saying before at some point or another, happy wife, happy life. Or, just give her whatever she wants and everything will be smooth in the home. But, we know that that's not necessarily the case. That's not always a good thing to do. Um, Number one, she's not being heard, he's not being heard, and we're doing things just for the sake of saying that we're going to keep the peace. So just want to put that caveat out there of what Dr. Phil is saying here.
That would work.
Trust me, it doesn't. When you have a disagreement, your goal should not be to win the argument. And the common sense says you want to win. When you have an argument, you want to win, right?
So let's stop there for a second. Dr. Phil says when you're approaching an argument, the first inclination in your mind should not be to want to win the argument. Now, we would approach arguments or disagreements, for a lack of better terminology, when we talk about entering into a courtroom. And you're a counselor and you're standing before the judge and you're representing someone and you're presenting your argument. You're doing things and presenting evidence to try to quote unquote win or to have the judgment passed in the favor of the person that you are representing. But this is an antiquated way of thinking when we are talking about approaching healthy relationships from the perspective of a husband and a wife, children, co-workers, family members, parental and children perspective. But what we want to do here is, and I totally agree with Dr. Phil, is we should not approach a conversation or a disagreement solely with the thought mindset of whatever I say, I'm going to change their thinking. I'm going to win this fight. I'm going to be proven right without a shadow of a doubt. And again, that's very dangerous when we're approaching our conversations in that tone of voice or in that frame of mind, because quite frankly, we're setting ourselves up for failure. And in order to win, we are going to go into fight or flight mode, and we are more willing and more susceptible to doing whatever we need to do by any means necessary to say, I won this argument. And that does more harm than good. So when we talk about willing to lose in order to win, what are you willing to lose just to say you won the fight, just to say that you won the argument? Are you willing to lose the relationship? Are you willing to lose trust? Are you willing to lose peace in the home? Are you willing to lose your self worth? Are you willing to tear this other person down just to say that you won the fight? Just like you in a boxing match. Are you willing to do whatever you need to do to win this? Are you willing to knock this person out just so you can walk around and say, I won? What is that really proving here? Let's continue.
That's the wrong goal. And we figured that out. That's the one thing we really did figure out early on. And the goal should be that you want your partner to understand how you feel and then be willing to leave it with them.
That's powerful right there. Our goal. I don't think we talk about goals a lot in life. We may talk about goals a lot when we are dealing with our professional lives. What is my trajectory from a professional perspective? But do we really have goals in relationships? There's this structure. There's this model that I use a lot whenever I'm doing one-on-one counselings, or whether I'm doing one-on-one sessions with um, my employees, and it's called the GROW model. It's an acronym, and it stands for your goal, realities, opportunities, and walkaways. And what that does is it helps the person to tangibly and strategically uh, pinpoint a goal in their life and break it down into segments. We've heard the idiom, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And that's the same approach when we're talking about setting goals for your life or even on the job. Here's the goal that we would like to set. The R is the reality surrounding why, or what are the real world inhibitors? What are the realities that may or are preventing you from reaching your goal? And those are, we got to be truthful. We got to be honest about those realities. Then the O is, what are the opportunities on a macro level or even on a micro level? Things that you can control within your wheelhouse, within your scope of fear, or when we're talking about on a macro level, what are some of the things that society is doing? The economy, your surrounding, your environment, your influences. What are some of those things that contribute, are not yet causal, but are contributive to you meeting these goals in your life? And then the W, which is the best part, are the walkaways. What are some of the immediate walkaways? What are some of the low hanging fruit that we can tangibly take control of to meet the demands in achieving our goals in life or in our professions? And so when we talk about bringing those pieces into a relationship, the goal is to have a healthy relationship. I don't think uh, for the most part, people just do not enter into relationship just to say, I'm going to give this person hell, and you want to be unhappy. But when we enter into these relationships, we don't have these meaningful conversations to get on the same page, to have a shared vision on how we're going to proceed in this relationship. Better yet, what are some of the ground rules that we are going to put in place in how we handle disagreement? Are we going to allow these disagreements to turn into fire, to where it's blazing and out of control, to where anything goes? Or do we have boundaries? Do we have mechanisms in place, safe words, not hitting below the belt, certain things, certain guidelines that we put in place to make sure that we keep level heads in our conversations and our disagreements? So we set the goals, We talk about the realities that will prevent us from doing this. Whether do we have kids? Is it stressful on the job? Do we have family issues? Are we a caregiver of people? All these different realities that will bring inhibitors into the equation when we're trying to figure out how do we move forward in our conversation when there is a disagreement. And then we look at the opportunities, again, macro level or on a micro level, to where we can work these things out. What can we do within our own power right now? Do we just need to walk away and sleep on it? Or do we need to go seek counseling? So we have counseling, macro level, and walking away for a period of time just to cool down, that we can do on our own on a micro level. And then we have the W, the walkaways. What are the immediate tangible things that we can put in place, that you can put in place and I can put in place immediately, as we seek to walk closer to the goal of having healthy relationships and healthier dialogue? Let's continue.
Because if you win, that means what?
They lose.
They lose. Do you want your wife to walk away feeling like a loser?
I don't.
Do you're wanting him to go do things that you want to do? Do you want him to feel like he has been a loser?
In certain circumstances.
See, here we have a huge problem. The statement Dr. Phil just made was, this young lady here, Dr. Phil stated, when you all are having your disagreement, what is your end goal? Are you willing to win the argument at the cost of your partner walking away feeling like a loser? Feeling like they don't have self worth, feeling like they were not heard. That's a very hurtful place to be in. We've all been there, to where we enter into a conversation and we felt like we just were not heard. Our feelings were not validated, or I'm not going to say validated, or they were not acknowledged. That's a key thing, just the acknowledgement of things. And so here we see this young lady. She said in certain situations, in certain times, in certain things, she's comfortable with the fact of knowing that her husband feels like a loser, just so he he can feel hurt. Or in other term, or in a better way, sometimes I know we do approach situations to whereas we want the other person to feel the hurt that we feel or felt if there was a transgression, or if someone had wronged us, and we want to go tit for tat. And again, approaching that situation in that manner is a recipe for disaster. Let's continue.
Okay, that's issue number 3. No, no, you understand what I'm saying?
I do.
You don't want to erode his self-worth and self-esteem.
Correct.
Stand up for me. Okay? Get on the
Yeah,
other
we
side.
would never want to
I'm putting you to work.
diminish someone else's self-esteem.
Okay, now get back in. Didn't know you were going to be on stage, Ann, did you?
Wow.
Okay, now, this is just going to take just a couple of minutes, okay? First, I want you to look at each other. Don't say anything, just look at each other. It's amazing how little we make eye contact with each other these days. Social media, text, Twitter. We just don't make eye contact much anymore. Now, I'm only going to give you about 10 or 15 seconds each to do this, but I'm going to start with you.
Before we get into what Dr. Phil has for them to do, this next little exercise, I want to touch on something that he just said. You know how critical that is, and how important. He made the point of how often do we actually make eye contact with our spouse or with the people that we're talking to in this day and age, in this technological world. you're more susceptible in getting a text than you are getting a straight up phone call or having a conversation with somebody face to face. And we know email and text, it is interpretive to the person who's receiving it. They can receive it in their own way, that it may not have even been intended the way that the sender gave the message, and the receiver is getting the message in a totally inaccurate and unsubstantiated claim of kind of fashion. So that's the real importance of what Dr. Phil is talking about right now, of having this eye contact with people, having the real heart to heart, face to face conversation instead of the cop out of hiding behind technology, hiding behind a text message, hiding behind social media.
Look at her. And when I say go, I want you to tell her what I wish you would stop doing because it hurts me. Go.
Simone, I wish you would stop bringing up old arguments and disagreements when we're out with friends. It's really embarrassing, and it hurts me to see you angry and upset over and over again. I wish you would stop not noticing when I'm trying to do things for you because I love you.
Okay, Simone?
Wow. Um, let's unpack that real quick. The husband just stated to the wife, what really gets under my skin is when you continue to bring up old conversations, old arguments that I thought we have already worked through. I thought we have already hashed things out. And to add insult to injury, not only do you rehash these conversations, but you do it in the company of other people. uh, as if she's trying to seek validation from someone else, her peers, to again try to prove her point. Maybe she felt as if she didn't win the argument the first time, or if she quote unquote won the argument, she didn't win the argument hard enough. So now she's bringing it up again in the presence of third party company in order to make sure, I'm assuming that the message is ringing loud and clear in his brain, that this offense towards me, it hurt me, and I really want you to understand the severity of it. And the second part of what he was saying was, it hurts him to see her hurt, and the fact of she's not giving him any type of acknowledgement for him trying to repent or return around these behaviors or these things these transgressions that he has done. She's not giving him any type of um, acknowledgement uh, based upon the changes that he is attempting to make to accommodate, to show a response to understand that these things hurt you. Here is what I'm going to do in response to that, because I value our relationship just that much. And I want you to know that I hear you. Let's continue.
What I wish you would stop doing because it hurts me.
I wish you would stop dismissing my feelings when I share with you about things that are bothering me. I wish that you would stop paying so much attention to social media. And I wish you would stop weren't focusing on being the man, and just remember that we are a team.
Wow. So let's unpack that one. She said quite a few things in there, but I think that the biggest one that stuck out to me, again, when we were talking about in the first place of his response um, to how she feels. She's saying that he is dismissive, and when she communicates how she feels. And so maybe that's the reason why when she gets in the presence of other people, she brings up the subject again, because she probably feels as if that's a safe space or a safe environment, to whereas if I know that I say it in front of people, he's definitely going to hear me, because if we're by ourselves, he doesn't hear me. But at the same token, he's saying, I may not respond in the moment to your feelings, but I respond in my actions, not necessarily responsive in my words, but I respond in my actions. And I will say, for the most part, with men, we respond with actions, and that's the difference here, to where these two they're not dichotomies. They can be both, and we can respond with our words and we can respond with our actions. So it's about that validation. It appears that she is seeking, and the last part about that, she mentioned of him focusing on being the man as opposed to focusing on being partners in the relationship. That's very key. That's critical. Yes, there is something about um, the, the essence of feeling like a man. There's a really good book out there by Dr. Egrich, and you've probably heard of it, and it talks about different love languages. Um, there's various ways that people communicate their love, as far as being affectionate, talking about it, showing actions. So, in our first episode, when we were talking about exhibiting and demonstrating love in the way that we receive it, we have to really get out of our own way of thinking. Again, shifting the paradigm of creating a new pattern in how we communicate and how we love other people. We can't approach them the same way that we want to be approached, because their love language very well may not be the same love language as ours, of how we would like to be communicated to, how we would like to have affection shown towards us. So those are just some things that we really have to take in consideration. And I'm really glad to see that in this clip, Dr. Phil was able to get this couple to actually stop for a moment, cut out the social media, cut out the third party uh, interjection of things. And he really got them to be able to understand that I see you, we are here together, here and now, and we are focusing on one another, and I hear you. And so, with these tools, um, the next time that they have a disagreement or have an argument, I really hope and pray that they will have some common ground here, to where they will have established some boundaries, that their disagreements will not turn into wildfire. They will not have these heated arguments to where there's name calling. People feel dismissive. People are just in the conversation because they feel like they want to win, not necessarily to resolve an issue, but just because they want to win. And so that's what I want to leave with you today, family. When we are in our conversations, what is our intent? Are we willing to win at all costs, to break the other person down? Are we willing to even lose out on the relationship just to say, I won? And so, with that being said, what did we win? If the person walks away, if the relationship has been called off, if there is a sever in the relationship, if there is no means for reconciliation, uh, unreconcilable differences, as what people would say, uh, what are those things that we are willing to give up for the sake of winning the argument? And then next thing you know, we're coming back to the person and we're trying to make up. We're trying to self correct. We're trying to patch it up. But the damage has already been done. It's a lot harder to take back words. Once they're already out there, it's very difficult to pull those words back, to pull back the hurts, to pull back the pains, to pull back the memories, to pull back the disappointments. So as we're entering into these conversations, these difficult conversations, again, conflict is not a bad thing. Conflict is needed, but it's how we approach the conflict. Do we do it in a healthy manner? Do we set and establish goals? Do we understand and realize the realities? Uh, his makeup, her makeup, past experiences, triggers, things that have harmed us in the past relationships, um, things that keep coming up in our mental banks that prevent us from moving forward in these relationships, or if we have not had the conversation before we enter the relationship to really get a clear picture and understanding of who you are as an individual, and for the other person to understand who they are. So we really got to do the work on ourselves. We have to shift this paradigm in our thinking, shift this paradigm of the pattern that society has set in place to where we are acting out based off our ethnicities, our cultures, our background, our dialect, our dialogue, what we see in social media, that we are playing out these fictitious flights of fancy ways of what we think relationships are supposed to be, just because society has deemed it so, as normal, as dysfunctional as it is called normal. But together as a family, we can shift our thinking, we can shift our thought processes, starting with one person at a time, starting with one family at a time, starting with one neighborhood, one community that would affect a society, that we can take this thing global and we can take this thing universal. So, again, you can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Eric K. Coleman, all one word. Email me at drerickcoleman@gmail.com. Follow me on the YouTube channel. Please subscribe and follow me on Facebook. So until we meet again, family, thank you. It has been a pleasure chopping it up with you today. Please, I look forward to next time being with you. So until then, uh, have a good one. Be blessed.